Greetings. And we have started. Why is this still running on the YouTube thing? Also, I realized I forgot to plug in my mic, or headphones rather, to Instagram. Welcome to another live chat session. Let me know if you can hear me all right. Multiple mics here just to try and get the best audio without interfering with anything else. Wherever you are joining from, let me know the city or the country or somewhere, anywhere, anything. I would like to give you a shout out. And also, of course, like I said, in all my other live chats, the best part about this is knowing how international the audience is. For those of you who are joining for the first time or watching the replay, if you see me going from here to over here, it's because this live chat is done, live streamed at least, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube as well. So the replay will be available on YouTube if you want to watch it or if you can't stick around for the entire thing. But that's why I'm doing this shifting thing. It's not that I'm looking at some random person sitting on my desk, but there's another camera. All right. Dwani from Indonesia. Hi, nice to see you. I had such an amazing trip in Indonesia. Dwani runs a dance school, dance studio over there called Cuban Salsa Indonesia. Lovely woman, her and her wife, and super great hosts, as well as just phenomenal people and dancers as well. Herbert from Washington. Bali misses you. I miss Bali. Trust me. Who wouldn't miss Bali? Right? All right, cool. Again, if you are joining, I see Angel Justiniano from New Swing Sextet, one of my favorite bands. If you haven't heard of them, you need to look them up. If you're dancing salsa and you haven't heard of them, what box are you in and what hole are you in? Lourdes from Florida, nice to see you. Emmanuel Sanders, don't know where you're from, but you're about to charge your phone, so you might get cut off. All right, no problem. You can always watch the replay on YouTube. Marcus from the Bronx, Nikki from Arizona, Alex, my good friend, virtual friend from Brazil, Lawrence from Paris. Very, very nice, super international. Love it. Angel, it's always a pleasure to see you. I can't wait to see you guys in person. I know you guys are doing another recording. New Swing Sextet is recording another album, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. Well, too late. I already said it. So we're all looking forward to that too. The J1 Trinidad in the house too. I actually I was judging a speaking competition, a Caribbean public speaking competition that was hosted by Jay Delano, who is based in Trinidad. Is that you, Jay? I don't know. Your name is different on Facebook. Anyways, great competition, amazing speakers, so much information about the Caribbean islands. It was an awesome experience. Samuel Bossier from Guadeloupe, Martinique, and France. Yes, I actually remember our dance from, I think it was either in Guadeloupe or Martinique. I can't remember, but I remember having a showcase dance at the party after teaching the workshops, which was phenomenal and super fun. The Javon, you know him, but it's not you. Gotcha. All right, Michael from Boston, Wade from Big Apple, Emmanuel's from Louisville, Kentucky. Vicky from Chicago, super, super nice. Joel from Colombia. Hi, Joel. Thank you for all the support over all this time. You share almost everything that I post, and I really appreciate it. So I'm giving you a personal shout out right now. Thank you. Akash from Malaysia. Today is a nice international audience. Are you guys joining because of the topic, or are you just joining because I'm going live? I'm curious. I'm not sure. Mr. Basar from Turkey. Merhaba, nasılsın? I hope to be there for a Congress sometime. So we're back in the desk, as you notice. And if you notice from all my past live chats, I have a new chair. That's why I'm here, because it's so comfy. I cannot believe that I used to have this other rickety chair that I've had for 16 years. And during COVID, I was like, oh, you know what? I should get a lawn, like a rocking chair or like a reclining chair. And I ended up getting a patio furniture lawn chair, which was massive. It folded up relatively flat, but it was massive, so that I could just like sit and rock and recline. And I never ever thought to just upgrade my desk chair, which is where I spend almost all of my time. And this chair is awesome. It's got like a little leg rest, and it's got like a full recline. I'm not going to do it now because last time I tried, it was my birthday last year around this time, my live chat, trying to set up and being all mic'd up and everything and trying to move things around, and I fell off my chair. I did. So if you want to go watch that, go look for last year, February 7th, which is my birthday coming up, the live chat. And in the very beginning, you will see that there is a moment where there's a big thump, and I disappear from the screen, but I come back. Totally fine. But yeah, that did happen. So I'm not going to make any adjustments now that I'm sitting here. So this was my birthday gift. All right. Artie, also from Turkey. Doris from Taiwan. Ahmed, Egypt in the house. Okay, like your colors today. Thank you. I was trying to be a little bit colorful. All right. From Georgia, Batuhan. Georgia the country or Georgia the state? Paul from London, what's up? Love your shirt, thank you. Andrea and Irene from Atlanta. Cool, both of y'all tuning in today. Well, Batuhan the country. Okay, well, I love the state and I love the country. I've had some of the best bloody seafood from a fresh seafood market that was cooked in a restaurant right next to the market. You would pick out your fish and whatever it was that you wanted to eat, and then you'd go sit in the restaurant and they would cook it for you, and you'd have nice Georgian wine and sit by the sea. And yeah, it was beautiful. Loved it. Love Georgia. Angel, you're looking for my fault. You know what? I will cut that clip and post it for everybody, so you can have a good laugh at my expense. You know, at least I wasn't injured. Anyways, let's get on to our live chat for today. So first of all, these live chats are monthly live chats. And actually, there is a question I have, would like to ask all of you. I'm thinking of moving it from Wednesday to Tuesday or Thursday. Would either of those days be preferred to you? It'll still be around the 12 o'clock time frame, because I feel like lighting is kind of the best, even though I have like multiple lights here. But if I'm sitting in the kitchen, there's like a nice daylight that helps. And I'm still like very wide awake and alert, so that helps too, right, for a live chat. So yeah, Tuesday or Thursday. There is a feedback form, which I always ask you guys to fill out. Not all of you complete it. It doesn't take very long to do, but it makes a huge difference to me, not just in you saying, oh, I liked it. You know, I can kind of see that through your comments in the chat, which I really appreciate. But more importantly, it's about the topic, you know, and if there was anything that was of value that you gained from it, if there was anything that you could relate to, if there was a story that you wanted to share that was too personal to share publicly in the chat, or if there's a question that you want to ask me for a future live chat, or something that I could perhaps on my online membership platform, I could create a tutorial for or break down in more detail. Those are things that you can ask me in the feedback form. And it's a much more personalized interaction there that is also private compared to being on chat here on Instagram or Facebook or on YouTube. Okay. So the feedback form, if you can, open another browser tab, magnagopal.com/feedback. Or if you're on your phone, open a browser tab, magnagopal.com/feedback, and just keep that open. And whenever you log out, you know, give that a whirl and write in your thoughts and your experiences and your opinions on today's live chat. Okay, same thing goes if you're watching this replay. Still applies. Couple more comments here. Maria Cervantes, hits different when the new swing sextet plays that set live. I absolutely agree. Angel, got a fan over here in YouTube. Okay, Wade. All right. So the other thing with our live chats is the reason, right? The reason I am doing the live chats. I had initially just started the live chats for the purpose of answering questions that I've gotten that I think would be relative to a lot of people, that a lot of people could use the answers to. Most of them used to be initially on dance specific topics. And I realized that's a place that I feel, not an expert, but pretty much an expert, right? And I felt very confident and comfortable to speak about those things. And then I realized that a big part of my dancing and a big part of who I am today as an entrepreneur, as a public speaker, as a coach, as a dance instructor, as a person in general has a lot to do with the way I think about things. And it's not that I don't go through difficult times. In fact, I go through plenty of highs and lows in my life. And I realize that if I can share that with you, not only do I hope that you can take some lessons from it and grow in your own way, but also that you don't idolize me as much. I always hear this, especially when it comes to dance, like, oh, Magna's so great. Like, I'll never be like that. She's just naturally talented, or she's always this, or she's always that, and yes, there is this persona. This is, who I am here in this live chat, who I am when you see me out at a dance event, at a social, or in public, at a meeting, gathering, or just hanging out for a coffee or something. Yes, I show up quite powerfully, but it's not because I don't go through my own shit. Okay. And I want to share that shit with you so that just as human as you are. And if I can get through it, so can you. Okay. So today's topic, let's dive into it. Self-limiting beliefs. Okay. These are basically negative assumptions and perceptions that we have about ourselves, the people around us, the people in our lives, and the world around us, one or the other, or all of those things combined. And the thing is that we all experience these self-limiting beliefs, right? The most basic example would be like, I'm not good enough. Okay. We experience this throughout our lives. And there's no amount of success or achievements or things that you have accomplished that necessarily rule it out, that eliminate those things. In fact, what I've found is the more success I have, the more I get, the more good things that happen in my life, the more I experience these limiting beliefs, where I'm almost feeling like this can't be happening. This can't be real. This is too good to be true. Right? Now, again, like I said, there's no way to truly eliminate them completely. But if we find a way to identify them, we can find a way to tackle them. And that is what I want to leave you with today. Okay. So for those of you joining, I would like to know what is or are some of your self-limiting beliefs. If you feel like sharing them, you can. If you don't mind, rather sharing them publicly in the chat, it's fine. Trust me, I'm going to go through a list that other people have shared in the Facebook and Instagram comments, and I'm pretty certain some of you will be able to relate. But I'm curious, what are some of your self-limiting beliefs? Like, what is blocking you from taking a step, from moving forward, from acting and doing something different? Write it in the chats. I'll tell you some of my most common ones, which is also, I'll give you guys three. There are many more, but one of my most common ones, which is the one I posted on Instagram and Facebook, was I'm not good enough, right? I'm not good enough for this task, this role, this person. The other one for me was, I guess I deserve this. And that was along the lines of deserving something that wasn't ideal, that wasn't like something really powerful or positive in my life, something that was negative. I felt like, well, I guess I deserve this. And then the other one is rather, I don't have the knowledge, the skills, or the ability to do X, whatever that is, whether it's learning something new, trying something new, traveling, becoming something, any of those things. I just feel sometimes like I don't have the knowledge or the skills or the ability to do it. So I'm curious, what are some of the people's comments here? Fear of rejection and the belief that not being good enough, absolutely. Let me see what's happening here. 2 that I deal with, Marcus said, I'm too old and I'm not good enough. Yep. I'm getting to that I'm too old part too, to be honest. One of my friends just told me today that age is nothing but a number, as long as you're training your body and keeping yourself healthy. So these are common. Again, if you're joining right now to this live chat, let me know where you're from. And also let me know what is a common recurring self-limiting belief that you experience. So I'm going to go through a list of some of the ones that were shared with me. And if any of these resonate with you, the reason I'm sharing this list is one, because I'm really thankful for everybody who commented and shared this, because even putting a comment in something as personable as a belief that you have where that's kind of negative about yourself is sharing vulnerability, right? And I want to honor that. And I want to also express it because I think a lot of us can relate to some of these. And if you didn't have the words, or if you haven't bothered to look inside to see what is one of your limiting beliefs, perhaps one of these will resonate with you. And then once you've identified it, it becomes a lot easier to tackle it. So if any of these resonate with you, type it back into chat. Okay, they're not very long, but type it back into chat, because if you just say yes, I don't know which one you are resonating with. All right. So one was, if only I had ... Another was, I'm just getting started, meaning I'm not there yet. Some, Lourdes, actually, you're on chat, not seeking help or a friend to talk to because you always feel like you have to be the one who's helping other people. Another one was, I won't be consistent enough. Another is that what I built would be jeopardized by straying too far from my comfort zone. Another, I'm not good enough, which that's something I can definitely relate to. Another related to that was, no matter what I do, it's never enough. I'm deeply flawed. I am unworthy and I don't deserve better. People deserve better than me and what I have to offer. I'm afraid to try, to execute, and to fail. I'm not welcome. I'm a burden when I ask for help. I'm stuck. I don't deserve a pat on the back because there's so much more to get done. I have to do what others do or I won't be accepted, acknowledged, or praised. I'm scared to express myself and say what I know because people will think I'm arrogant. It's too good to be true, and I'm most afraid during the greatest moments of what bad will happen next. I am my past mistakes. I'm too old. I should just stop. People think I'm making a fool of myself. I'm too old to start over. Everyone else is doing and is better than me. I don't have enough money, love, intelligence, skills, experience. I don't have the ideal looks, finances, environment, home, skills, etc. I'm not fully capable. I don't have enough time. I'm not a natural like the pros. I'll never be that good. I can't be creative because people tease me. People won't like my creations. They will find all the defects. My happiness comes after others. I can't get it. It's too technical. I'm not smart enough. I have to wait for the right moment or circumstance, whether that's age, fitness level, career, skill level, financial, wealth, etc. If I can't do this, what makes me think I can try that? I missed my shot. And of course, most common one, which is imposter syndrome. One hand, you think you're capable, and another one, you're telling yourself like, are you crazy? You can't do this. You're not that good. So I'm curious if any of you can relate to these. Some have been commenting here. I'm just going to read some of those. Too old and not good enough. I have a childish voice and it limits me to speak out more often or even in public. I help others more than myself. No matter what I do, it's not good enough. I'm a burden, definitely. I have the potential to do it, but I lack the discipline. I have the patience, but that hides the fear I have to fail. Burden again, I am my past mistakes, very self-doubting. And then here we've got, I need to know these things first before I take this on or think I'm ready. I feel the whole, I'm not good enough. I feel like sometimes it's a matter of standards of attempting to be perfect, even though it's not possible. It can be hard to remember to not think that way sometimes. So excellent comments here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for adding to this list. These are the ones that were shared with me. There are many other self-limiting beliefs out there, but the goal here isn't to go and deep dive through all of those things, but to understand why it's important to talk about them and also understand where they have impact. So in terms of areas of impact, there are 4 that I categorize these into. And if you think that there's another one, like feel free to throw it into chat, throw it into the comments. I would love to understand, and I'd love to dig into that deeper either today or at another time. Oh, Herb also said, I have been overlooked in the beginning. Great point. Okay, so the 4 categories that I would categorize these into is 1, self-worth, 2, growth, 3, communication and expression, and then 4, relationships and connection with other people. So let's go into the first one, self-worth. Some statements that impact that are obviously, I'm not good enough. I am deeply flawed. I am unworthy and don't deserve better. People deserve better than me. Everyone else is doing better than me. I don't have the ideal looks. I don't have the ideal fantasies. Wow. Finances. It's too good to be true. So for me, the impact that this had on my life, at least, mostly came from comparison to others. So when it comes to our self-worth, where do we find our definition of what's great, of what's of value, of what is something to strive for, of what's something to be and become, right? We see it in the world around us. So it's through comparison, right? For me personally, I have made those comparisons. I still sometimes find myself making those comparisons with other people, even as a dancer, right? Like I have accomplished so much. I have built a global brand, and it's recognized for integrity, for creativity, for musicality, for personal like connection, right? I've done this. I have half of my life dedicated to that. I have accomplished that. And yet I can still find myself comparing myself to other dancers and saying, wow, you know what? I can't do that. And so, you know what? Maybe I'm not that good. Right. So in terms of self-worth, the main challenge is understanding the comparisons that we're making, right? Looking at what we're comparing to, why we're comparing it, what is the current state of mind within which we're making our comparisons, and then assessing them and giving them the weight that they deserve or don't deserve, right? Social media doesn't freaking help, right? Social media is the rosy colored glasses on everything. That's what social media is, okay? Most people are not posting when they are sick, when they are feeling like shit, when they are doing bad things, when they are getting into a fight with their family, their friends, or in relationships. They're not posting that stuff. They're posting the things that are great. Look at this amazing dinner. Look at this fancy trip that I'm on. Look at all the love that I'm sharing with the person that I'm with. Look at me and my friends having the ball of our lives, right? Everything that is on social media should be taken with a freaking bucket of salt. Forget that grain of salt, okay? A bucket of salt, because what people are posting is their best. You don't get to see the lows, right? Which is, again, another reason why I'm doing this live chat, is because I want to show you, that yes, I show up and I show up powerfully and I show up in a positive way, but I do go through my own struggles. And I want you to know that it's not always perfect. It is a work in progress, and it's consistent work and effort that allows me to get there low. So if you're experiencing a moment of low in your life, you are absolutely not alone, right? So if you are inundated with social media, be mindful of what you are subconsciously telling yourself about yourself compared to the people that you are observing and watching, right? There's a couple of comments here. Steve in the house, it'd be great to have a list of the beliefs that Magna read. You know what? I can make that for you guys too. Anyone who incentive. Anyone who completes the feedback form, magnagopal.com/feedback, I will send you an email of that entire list that I read out, so you don't have to go watch it all and type it out. And I'll actually send you another little handout that a friend of mine shared with me, which I'll unfortunately won't be able to share here, but I will share it on the YouTube and Facebook because I can share my screen. I'm sorry, guys. So you guys have to just complete the feedback form and then you'll get it. Nuno in the house. Nuno, I think you're in Portugal, if I'm not mistaken. Edgar, nice to see you. Marcus said, I overcome a disability to dance, yet I'm always told that I'm not good enough. Overcame a disability to dance, yet I've always told that I'm not good enough. Kent from Canada. Yes. Lourdes said, James, I don't even know what that means. My other half tells me not to let people rent a room in my brain as I overthink stuff. Absolutely. Again, social media is one of those things, right? Made of rubber, sit in the middle of your room, close your eyes and clear your mind. I don't think of anything at all and focus on one or two objects in the house. Nice. We're going to get into techniques and strategies for how to deal with self-limiting beliefs as well. I just want to go through these areas of our life, areas of impact that they have. So that's one, right? In terms of our self-worth, much of it comes from the comparison that we have to the world around us, to the people around us, to the people that we follow, to the people we look up to, and to the people we ultimately compare ourselves to and say, you know what, they're here and I'm not there yet. I'm not good enough, or they're younger and they've achieved this much more. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, or they've spent such little time and they've gotten all of this done. I just don't have it. It's not in me, right? Comparison. So got to be mindful of that because that is the impact that it has on our life. The second area is our growth, right? Our ability. So statements like being afraid to try, to execute, fail, being scared to stray from your comfort zone because you're scared that you're going to lose everything, feeling stuck. If only I had, I'm just getting started, I'm too old, right? I can't get it. All of these things affect our growth ultimately. And the reason they affect our growth is because they impact the way we see ourselves and our ability to learn and to grow, right? I'll tell you guys with my life. Again, going back to dance here, I'm feeling so confident about dance, right? Like this is all the things that I've accomplished. Like here's some successes that I can piggyback off. And yet I wanted to go into speaking and coaching for quite some time. I've done it now. I am doing it now. However, I wanted to do it 6 years prior, even longer than that. But the reason I didn't is because I was too scared to start again, right? Here I built all of these things in dance. And my fear was, in this case, comparing myself to myself, right? Saying, well, Magna, you did this and it took you all of this time. Like you don't have that much time to be able to do this again. You're just too old to go this new route. Stick to what you've been doing. Stick to what you know. Stick to where you've already built your brand, built your name, built your business, and stay there. It's more comfortable, and you can continue there. But don't try anything new because you're too old to start again, right? And I'm thinking this in my 30s. Right. I was thinking this in my 30s, feeling like I'm too old to start again. right? Ismail, who is a really good friend of mine, Ismail Otero, he had made a comment, and he was the one who said that I missed my shot, right? And that's something that we also experience sometimes. It could be with finances, like I'll tell you personally, when I was younger, I didn't grow up with a family that taught anything about finances. My parents didn't instill that in me, letting me know like, oh, you should save, you should do this, you should do that, none of that stuff, right? And so my earlier years, I'm seeing my friends saving up and buying things and investing in this, investing in that. And I just felt like, well, I guess I missed it. I missed that opportunity. I can't grow in this way financially because I've already missed that moment in my younger years to do this, right? Or in the case of speaking coaching, I'm too old to start now, right? Or if I had done this sooner, right? Even with COVID, for example, like everyone going on. Oops, let me mute that. Sorry. Everyone was going on about like getting in on online, right? Getting online tutorials and all of these things. And I actually, now I have it, right? It took me some time to develop, but I was not on that first train doing it. And in fact, when I started doing it, I actually didn't even want to do it because I thought, well, I missed my shot. Like it's too late now to be doing any of this stuff, right? So, in terms of our growth, those limiting beliefs can impact our growth in that way because they stop us from trying. They stop us from looking and exploring something new. They prevent us from making steps forward, right? It's not to say that just because you take that step that you're going to succeed. That's not the point, and that's not the message, right? But if you don't take that step, you will have absolutely no idea and you will not grow, right? It is by trying something new. It is by approaching things that you are uncomfortable with. It is about pursuing your passions, no matter what age you are, right? That invite that growth, that personal growth. And if you're focused on the outcome and saying, well, the only way this is going to be successful is if I am able to get all of this in this time, well, you're missing an opportunity. Are you missing an opportunity to really explore yourself and your abilities to try something new? So for me, yeah, I might have missed my shot in certain things, but I'm still taking my shot, right? I am still doing what I wanted to do. Maybe I'm later than other people, but whatever, right? I am doing the things that bring purpose and value into my life. These live chats, even, right? These are things that I had wanted to do before, but I didn't approach it. I thought that I wasn't good enough, that I couldn't do this, that what would I talk about, and would I be uncomfortable, or and would people even listen to anything I have to say? Would anything I say have any value to anyone who's listening, right? And if I was just focusing on all those things that are limiting me, I would have never done it. We are on live chat number 23, right? So this is 2 years of monthly live chats that I've been doing. And yeah, first couple of live chats, and even some of these randomly, maybe there's not a lot of people who are watching. That's not the point, right? Like again, if I'm comparing myself to some live streamers who are building their social media platforms and all that stuff, who have like thousands and thousands of people watching every time they go live, well, yeah, I'm going to feel pretty unaccomplished. But if I focus instead on my purpose, which is I want to help other people, I want to show my vulnerability, I want to share my life in more than just the highlights, right? And share the struggles that I've gone through and how I've gotten through them so that I can help other people do the same. Well, then it just requires one person to watch this and one person to listen for me to feel like I have done something good and that I've accomplished my mission, right? So that one is an important part when the limiting beliefs come in, how they actually impact the way we pursue our growth, right? The way we approach trying things that are new. Third area, communication, self expression, creativity. So, some of the statements related to this area were I have to do what others do, or I won't be accepted. I'm scared to express myself and say what I know because people will think I'm arrogant. I can't be creative because people tease me. People won't like my creations. They'll find it defective. And I saw one in the chat. Let me just go back to that really quickly. Where is it? I'm sorry. Juliana, who said, I have like a childish voice and it limits me from speaking out more often, even in public, right? So expression and communication is another big one. And if you've watched any of the other live chats that I've done, everything is about freaking communication, right? Everything is about communication. How effectively we communicate, how confident we are when we communicate, and how consistent we are with being honest in our communication. And the way our self-limiting beliefs can affect that, right, is in this way. And not just in communicating verbally, but also communicating our vision creatively, right? So for example, with self-expression and creativity, my entire dance to this day and into the future, I projected into the future, okay, is constantly criticized and constantly judged and many times ridiculed for not being salsa, for not being feminine, for goofing around too much, for laughing too much in the dance, right? It is incessant, the amount of negative things I hear about my dancing. If I let those things impact me, right, I would not be who I am today. I would not create any of the things that I've created, and I would not change the community the way I have, right? It's not to say that that lack of appreciation, that lack of acceptance of my expression wasn't present, isn't present. It's always there, but I had to say, back to my purpose. What is it that I want to do? What brings me pleasure? What brings me joy? What feels good to me? What is a nice connection that I can have with my partner? Am I getting all of those things done? Great. So who the cares what these other people are saying? Many people don't like what I do. I don't care. All right. I don't care. I am having fun. I'm connected with my partner. I'm connected with the music. I am having like a good time where you can see that even from the outside in how much fun my dances have. So I'm doing something right. And as long as I'm doing that thing that's right in my heart, that's all that matters. Right? So if your voice is soft, but you have something beautiful to say it, right? Not everything you do, whatever you put out there, especially when it's something creative, is not something you can expect or you should expect everyone to enjoy and appreciate. We are niche, in our creativity, ideally. Otherwise, what the fuck is a creative part, right? It's the uniqueness in it that you bring to the table. And not everyone's going to like it, right? It's like visuals. Some people look at like certain artists and say, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I would look at that same like Picasso painting. I wouldn't even know it was Picasso probably, right? Because I don't study it. So I have no appreciation for that stuff. I would probably look at, just a picture. Someone took a photo of something really nice and say, oh, wow, that's really beautiful scenery, right? We all have different tastes. So what you're doing you should be doing for yourself, right? You're being creative and you're expressing yourself, right? World be damned in terms of how many people accept it and appreciate it and say, oh, yeah, you did a great job, right? If no one does, if you feel good, do it, right? As long as you're not hurting anyone in the process. If no one else appreciates it, who cares? Does it bring you joy? Then do it. If only 5 out of 5 million appreciate it, do it. So that was one of the things when it came to self-expression and creativity that was a struggle. And then there's another element too, right, where there's expression communication, verbal expression, similar to the soft voice that you mentioned, Juliana, but also another friend of mine mentioned, which was this cultural thing, cultural limitations, right? Where you get your limiting beliefs from the culture around you, that basically tells you don't speak, right? Women have that a lot, right? In certain cultures, like maybe you should just sit and listen while the men talk, right? And men in certain cultures, if you're speaking to someone older and you know the answer to something or you know more than that person, you should actually shut up and let the older person speak their nonsense because it's not your place, because you should respect your elders, right? And you shouldn't express yourself. So those kind of things, like cultural limitations that come into play, are really difficult to work with and difficult to confront. Cultural limitations have existed even within dance. All right. When I first started, yeah, like if you're not being feminine, super feminine, like overtly feminine in your dancing, there's a problem with your dancing, right? That is a barrier that I had to confront, that I still sometimes confront because I have a different style and a different approach, right? It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. I'll tell you, because not only will you get your own voice, but who knows who else you might influence. You know, in dance, I mean, there are a lot of female dancers out there who are doing their own thing now. When I first started as a solo female without like a partner or a dance group pushing me forward, I was the only person, you know, and more people have come out, and it's amazing. And not to say that they wouldn't have come out eventually, but perhaps me going through those struggles and saying, you know what, I don't believe that this is a man's world only, and I don't believe that a woman has to take second stage to the dance partner or the dance team. I'm going to go do my own thing. Maybe, just maybe, I also paved that path and made that a little bit easier to continue to tread and continue to pave, right? But I would not have been able to do that if I felt that the cultural limitations around it and the perception, of what a woman should be in dance told me, well, you know what, Magna, don't fight that fight, right? Walk away from that one. Just stick to the norm, conform yourself, right? So when it comes to communication, speak. If you have something to say, you believe in something, you're passionate about something, speak. Let your voice be heard. Again, as long as you're not hurting someone. If someone takes insult to the fact that you're younger and you're speaking and they're older, well, you know what? They're closed minded. Okay. If someone has a problem that your voice is too soft and you should have a deeper voice, you know what? I would disregard that personally. Right. But if you have something to say, if you believe that there is value that you can bring to the table, open your mouth and speak. And if it comes to something creative, that's nonverbal. If you have something that you're passionate about, that brings you joy, that makes you happy, and that could possibly bring even one other person some semblance of happiness or a smile on their face, do it, right? Because you never know who else you are paving the path for. Before I go into my last category, I just want to read some comments. I'm sorry, I sometimes kind of get carried away with the talking part. Sits in the middle. Oh, Lord, it said Yvette is on watching. Gotcha. Steve, social media, comparing ourselves to millions of people we never would have known about. Absolutely. Marcus said, I'm being told that I'm too old to get my law degree. I mean, as long as you can complete your law degree, if you're not gonna die in the next year, right? I don't think you're too old to complete your law degree. I mean, there is a duration of the education component, right? That is the only thing I would say that comes into play. And if your mind is still apt, why not? Deb said, I've got ideas that I can work on, and I'm going to write them down tonight. I am so happy to hear that. William said, when I say too old, I started dancing salsa in 78. Okay, that's a long comment, and it got cut off. Sorry, Will. Deb said, my friend is 40, and she got her nursing degree a week before her 40th. Amazing. Yeah. First time on. Glad to have you. Natalie, once we're living, we have endless opportunities to take our shots, as many as we need to get where we're going, regardless of how long we stay there. Absolutely. Lori said, well done, said your musicality is unique. Thank you. You connected. Yeah. Reggie 4, hey, caught alive. I feel like I self-limit because I see those that succeeded as others or a special group, and I'm not part of that group. What a journey to have. We are niche. Go continuing. Sorry, this is just comments moment. Life would be boring if everyone liked the same thing. Absolutely. Be expressive in your own way. I needed that today, Yuliana. Great. I'm glad to hear it. Still young enough to do my logic at 49, so I can do it. You definitely can, Marcus. Oh, and another thing. Okay, sorry. So last category, and let me just make sure there's nobody here that I missed. Herman said, you did, Magna. I can see it here in LA. Female dancers with awesome musicality and creativity. Amazing. I'm glad. All right. Okay, so, oh, wow, Nikki, got my BA when I was 37, master's at 45. We need to believe in ourselves. My daughter quit teaching at 40, and now she's an amazing nurse. Fantastic. I had a lot of doubts in myself being a young dancer in Trinidad, wanted to open my own school since before COVID, but only got the courage after the pandemic 2 years later. Now it's open and it's growing. Fantastic, right? I mean, sure, could have done it 2 years earlier, but you did it. Ihan said, life will be boring if we like the same things. Yes, but we all, I feel like it's gloating to say what you said, but we all like Magna and her point of view and we never get bored. I appreciate that. So moving into our fourth area of impact. And then from there, we're going to go into some strategies and techniques for how we can confront and tackle our self-limiting beliefs. Again, if you are joining for the first time, if this is your live chat, first live chat that you're joining, I do these monthly. I am debating switching it to Tuesday or Thursday. If you do plan to put your input into that, I'll probably post a poll on Facebook and on YouTube and on Instagram for you guys to pick a day so you can vote there, but also you can complete the feedback form, magnagopal.com/feedback, and that'll take you directly to the form. You can write it into the notes and just say, yeah, I would like, I think Tuesdays would be better or Thursdays would be better and why. It'll most likely still be at this 12 p.m. time slot. Second thing is, if you are here, if you are enjoying this, that's another reason to complete the feedback form. It's one very simple way to show your appreciation, but to also give me feedback. Again, aren't we all here to grow and improve and get that validation that we're doing something right and see what we can continue doing? Feedback form is one great way for you to share that with me, okay? If you want to continue your support, if you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, hit like, share this video. YouTube will have the replay of the entire live chat. And if you are feeling extra generous and you want to tip me a coffee, which I always have the full coffee and I never finish it. Now, I just realized this too. Sorry, segue. This is a tea leaf strainer thingy. And I can actually make coffee in this. I always made a big pot of coffee in the French press, so it's like it's a lot, and the cleanup is a pain in the butt. And then I was like, you know what? I'm steeping tea. Why can't I steep my coffee? And yeah, it's good. So if you're feeling extra generous and you wanted to share a little extra in Instagram, if you look in the description, you should see a link. And on Facebook and on YouTube, if you look in the description, you see a link that says ko-fi.com/magnagopal. It's like buying a coffee. So if you feel extra generous, by all means. But for free, you can support by hitting like on the channel that you're on and sharing this with your friends. You can actually share clips as well, which is pretty awesome. YouTube's new feature, so you can find a timestamp and say, oh, you know what, this particular message, I think my friend needs to hear this. You could just share that particular clip with your friend. So many ways to show your support, letting you know. Okay, so last category, last area of impact that I would like to talk about. Relationships and connection. This one is, everything that we feel when it comes to our self-worth, when it comes to communicating, expressing ourselves, our ability or our sense of ability and growth it all bleeds into relationships, right? Because ultimately, how do we relate to this world? It's through our connection with other people. Some limiting statements. No matter what I do, it's never enough. I'm not welcome. I am a burden when I ask for help. My happiness comes only after others, like family, etc. Not good at seeking help, and I miss my shot. Ismail said that I don't know what he was referring to. He just put I missed my shot, which I appreciate because he didn't actually specify which area. But I would like to say I'm going to comment on that part as it relates to relationships as well. So for myself, personally, I have grown up very independently, and that is a result of my upbringing and my childhood development and all of that stuff. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's turned out to be a good thing. Like I hope that everyone else has a lot more support through their childhood than I did, but I don't resent it. I don't blame anybody. I'm very thankful for who I am today. That being said, what it has impacted in me, in terms of relationships and connection, is my inability to ask for help, right? I've always felt like I would be burdening other people. I am always the person who is available to other people if they need any help. By all means, you reach out and I'll try and find a way. Coaching, the whole coaching business is in that direction, not just obviously for the business aspect of it, of a source of income, but it's because I'm like, this is something I'm good at. This is something I enjoy doing. This is something I'd like to offer and put more of my effort into. And if I can make a career out of it, then why not, right? But in general, I've always been a person who people come to ask for help. I am not good at asking for help. I have gotten better. And the reason I got better, to be honest, was COVID. And it was because I realized how many relationships I have had, just transient relationships, deeper relationships, family, friends, just dancers, people out on the street, how many relationships I have had that are, that I thought fulfilled my need for connection, and where I thought I was getting all the support that I needed, when in reality, they were quite superficial relationships. When COVID hit and I got locked down, right? Everybody got locked down. We're stuck inside, and I have really no connection with the outside world. I'm not leaving my house. No one's leaving their house. There's no social events. There's no gatherings, none of that stuff. All of a sudden, I was like, who do I have in my life? Like, who do I really have in my life? And that's when I started reaching out and making connections. Now, not everybody became a lifelong connection. I'm not even putting that pressure on the people that are currently there to be a lifelong connection. Of course, I would love for them to be there forever in my life, but if they're not, I'm very grateful for the time that they've been there. However, through COVID, as a result of the huge downs that I was experiencing, of like, what am I doing with my life? I just lost all my work. Who am I? What am I supposed to do? I'm lost. I'm stuck. I'm not sure what to do, right? Of course, those things started to come out in those conversations with these friends. And all of a sudden, I saw this beauty in my friendships where people were so willing to help, right? And the thing is, like, that feeling that we're a burden, the same way that we approach other people and say, I can be here for you, and how good it feels to us to be able to support someone else, is the same thing they feel when we ask for help. Not everybody, but many people, right? And that's something that we want to keep in mind when we start feeling like we're a burden when we're asking for help. The other element is thinking that we're flawed, right? And that we don't deserve any better. So this, I will say, has impacted this thought of like, I'm not good enough. I have my flaws, and this whatever negative situation or things that I don't like, this is what I deserve. That affected many of my relationships. I stayed in relationships where I should have dipped long time ago, right? Romantic relationships, including friendships as well. And the reason was because I could not see that I did deserve better. Is not to say that the person that I was friends with or the person I was dating was a bad person. It's just they weren't a good match for me. And because I was already defeating myself and limiting myself by saying, well, I guess this is what I get. This is the best I can get. And I like, who am I to ask for more? I'm being too demanding by asking for more. I settled, right? I stayed exactly where I was. I was in those relationships way too long, right? So it impacted in that way. As far as the healthier relationships, that's where the I miss my shot came in, you know? I used to think that, like, I had some relationships where I was like, man, I wish that would work again. There was some exes for like a couple years after it had ended where I was like, oh, I hope we get back together. I hope we get back together. When we'd see each other, there would be like this kind of flirtation and communication. Oh yeah, let's grab a coffee. And then hopefully maybe we can rekindle something and get back in that relationship because it was such a good relationship, And then I started to think, I was not there, right? Like whatever I am today, who I am today, my ability to communicate, my ability to express myself, to appreciate, to love, to be loved, all of these things were not present in that day. And it doesn't matter that that person was as great as they were. The truth is that timing of that was not equal. We were passing each other through that relationship. We were passing each other, and it's not to say that today, me being in that better state, sure, if I was there, maybe that shot would have been a great shot, right? That would have been a home run. But today, who I am, it's not to say that that person has grown in the same way and that we would connect, and so realizing that allowed me to appreciate that I didn't miss my shot. I got my shot. I took the shot. I was in that relationship. I loved. I felt pain. I laughed. I learned, through all of that. And ultimately, I grew as a person. I didn't grow with that person, but that's not the point. The point is I grew inside, and that's the most important part. And that was one of the things that really impacted relationships, And then one last point, which was another friend of mine said this, and this could be experienced. Obviously, a friend of mine is an expat in another country, and he mentioned that he doesn't sometimes has a fear of not being welcomed, right? And sometimes we feel that too. And how does that fear limit us? Well, it limits our ability to go out and try things, right? Go out and connect with people because we're already making the assumption that because we are different from this group of people, that we will not be accepted, that we will not be welcomed. And, I'm going to take it back to dance. Dance really, honestly, is a microcosm for freaking every experience out there in life, right? With dance, like I had moments like that. I'm of Indian origin. I was born in India. I grew up in Canada. I didn't grow up with Latinos. I didn't grow up around the music. I started dancing salsa. I fell in love with it, and that's what I did. I just stuck it out. I really, really loved the dance. And I eventually started to feel, not so much in Toronto because the dance community in Toronto, Canada is very diverse, like Filipino, Chinese, like white people, all sorts of stuff, right? So not so much there. But when I moved to New York, I felt that, right? I was like feeling this almost a sense of ostracization, because it was a heavily Latino community. And here's this Indian girl, like, who the fuck does she think she is, right? This is our culture. This is our music. This is our dance, right? Now, it's not to say that that's what was happening, but it definitely felt like that to me, right? And it felt like that to me based on usually a couple of people, right? And I projected that onto everybody. And what did that do? It limited my ability to connect with other people. It's only when I dropped that and said, sure, there could be some people here who are closed-minded about that kind of stuff, but it doesn't mean everybody is. And I don't need to be friends with those people. I can make my friendships and build my connections with all the other people who are welcoming, right? Same thing goes for certain status differences, right? I used to feel, and Juliana, maybe this is going to kind of relate to you a little bit with your voice, right? Being soft-spoken. I'm not really soft-spoken, as you can hear. And if you spent any time with me, I'm quite loud, especially if I laugh. Super Mario always used to say, like, he could be in another room and he knows when I've laughed because he's like, you have a belly laugh that just echoes and resonates through the entire space. So I don't hold back, right? Volume is not an issue. But there used to be times where I felt like my opinion, what I wanted to say, would not be welcomed because of the environment that I was in. So the people who were around me, for example, were, let's say, business people, finance, stocks, or whatever, like things that I'm not into, things that I don't have much knowledge in. Right. And they'll be having a conversation. Perhaps it's not even about their specific topic, but they'd be having a conversation about anything, let's say relationships or something like that. And I felt like my thoughts and my input would not be welcome because they would look at me and say, um, okay, dancer, right? What exactly, what experience do you have? It took me some time to be able to look at that and say, I have valuable input. I am going to learn from this engagement, this interaction, this conversation. I'm going to process and take in the information that you're putting out there. But I have life experiences. I've got 40 plus years of life experiences with relationships, and I can contribute to this discussion. I can contribute in a meaningful way to this conversation and this discussion. And it took me some time to stop looking at people who were different than me, who came from different economic, demographic backgrounds, and say that I wouldn't be welcome because I'm from a different place. I have a different origin. I have a different culture or a different ethnicity or a different hobby, whatever, career, whatever it is, right? So, again, self-limiting beliefs, right? These are the perceptions that we have. These are the assumptions that we have about the world around us, about other people. And it affects how we connect with other people because of this ability of these beliefs to prevent us from taking the first step, right? So, a couple more comments here, and then we're going to move on to some techniques and strategies. Always want to help others. Lourdes said, oh my God, we have a lot in common, including our struggles that makes us stronger. Absolutely. Nikki, COVID created a moment of major introspection for me too. Been there. Mark, pertaining to lockdowns, I should have moved to Texas. Yeah, hard pass. Not that I don't love Texas, but way too hot, like really too hot. Salo, coaches are people with naturally deep emotional tanks, which unfortunately lead to a misconception that our tank depths have no limits. Touche. Marcus, I'm always reminded of my flaws. Being neurodiverse, I understand the feeling of not fitting in. Debs. X3, yes, this absolutely resonates. I have valuable input. Yeah. Salo, also in many communities, the toxic minority has often a louder presence and voice than the healthy, good population, general population, so it can give a false sense of rejection in an otherwise welcoming environment. Excellent point. Dance has that too. I mean, dance communities in New York are notorious for that. People are like, oh, it's so cliquey. I'm like, really? Where do you find the cliquiness? I just go out and I see everybody, but they are seeing that one small group of people giving off this aura of like, this is a privilege. This is a private group, right? And they feel that vibe and project it onto the rest. So be mindful of what you're absorbing, right? What are you absorbing, and how are you translating that as your general idea of the overall? All right. So, JR, big hug. Back to you, my friend. Where are you now? Indonesia still? Jakarta? Okay, a couple of them said they're not completed. Okay. All right. So moving on. Last little points, and then we'll be wrapping up today's live chat. Steps and techniques to tackle our self-limiting beliefs. There are many. If you already have a practice of your own, by all means, do you, right? These are just a couple of the things that I would like to share on my side. Also, Alex, thank you very much. He bought a badge on Instagram. Again, if you would like to support this channel, if you'd like to support my efforts and the time that I do with all of these things, of course, we do, talk an hour and a half or so, but the process and the setup and all of that stuff is many, many, many hours longer than I thought it would ever be. But it's because I don't want to come out here. Yes, there are some Q&As where I'll just come out and be like, okay, waiting for a question. What do you want to ask me? But most of the time, especially now, when we go into topics, I spend my time researching. I get your input. I ask all of you guys your questions. I look at and introspect into my own life and say, okay, how have I approached this? How has it impacted me negatively? How has it impacted me positively? What are the tips and techniques that I can give? I spend some time outlining all of that and then ultimately get to our actual live chat where I share that with you. So again, if you would like to support the channel, simplest way is subscribe, share with your friends, like, comment, leave a comment. Comments are great. And if you feel extra generous, if you're on Facebook or on YouTube, you can go into the comments and there's a link to a Ko-fi, right? Buy a coffee, Ko-fi, whatever. You can show your support there. Or if you are on Instagram, you can buy a badge. I just noticed that, Herman also bought a badge. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to a couple more comments. Community are very welcoming when you cut out all the bullshit. Yep, most communities are. Share to my wall to go back to as a daughter coming in soon. Okay. Thank you, Debs. All right. So strategies. This is the part that we want to get into, right? So again, self-limiting beliefs, can't really eliminate them, right? It's really hard to completely extinguish their power, but we can tackle them, right? And the goal is really to make sure that they don't manifest into reality. They can sit up here and ideally we want to put them into the corner, but we don't want them to show up here where we are unable to actually make progress in our own life, in our relationships, in our connection with other people. So first step is developing self-awareness. Okay. Awareness, acknowledging, labeling is important. I know, and I know this speaking from experience, I have spent much of my life never reflecting on this stuff. Okay. I have gone through life because I'm just going to fight through everything. I encounter a struggle. I'm going to muscle my way through that. Right. I'm injured. Well, stretch, train, get back to good health. Right. And I never really stopped to think about the things that were preventing me from going forward. Right. That were hindering my ability to make steps faster even. Right. It's in the past few years that I've been, mainly it's this live chat, to be honest, right? Getting more and more into these deeper topics has forced me to say, well, Magna, where do you stand, right? What's your experience? What are your flaws and how have you improved upon them? And so in terms of awareness, that is the first step. We absolutely need to take the time to reflect and understand what are we thinking? Why are we thinking it? Where do those thoughts come from? What are their origins? Because many of the origins of these kind of limiting beliefs come from childhood, right? And we don't go back that far, most of us. The older we get, the less we're visiting freaking, 2-3-year-old in our relationship with our parents. But in fact, yeah, a lot of these limiting beliefs have their origins there. And then how are we perpetuating them, right? How have we continued through our life? I can tell you, in relationships, I spent many years dating people who, not to knock them, not that they were bad people, but they weren't a good fit for me. And I stuck around because I just thought that I wasn't worth anything better than that, right? So what did that do? That strengthened my belief in myself that I wasn't worth it, right? Because I just kept entering relationship after relationship that proved to me that I wasn't, because I was choosing wrong, because I couldn't get out of that mindset, right? So awareness is really important. You can't fight an enemy you can't define. So you need to be able to identify and label them and notice when they pop out, right? Otherwise, you're just swinging in the air. And sure, maybe one day you get a knockout, but you're in the dark swinging around that's just chance and that's just luck. You're not really putting together a strong strategy for fighting them. The second one is take an inventory, okay? And this one is really important because most of the limiting beliefs we have proof that we can conquer them. We have proof that we have conquered them, right? Many of those limiting beliefs they show up. And again, like I said in the very, very beginning of this live chat, the more successful I've gotten, the more I encounter these beliefs. The more they come in and say, yeah, I know you did that, but you can't do it again. You're not capable of doing it again, right? But what the limiting belief says is not that you're not capable of doing it again. You're not capable of doing it, period, right? Conveniently leaves out the word again, because again would remind me that I have done it, right? Okay, getting a little too animated here. Again would remind me that I have done it, that I have proof that I am capable of doing this, right? But the limiting belief does not present itself in that way. The limiting belief presents itself as you can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not capable enough, right? When in reality, much of our life has proven to us that we in fact are capable and we in fact have done it and we can do it again, right? So taking an inventory is all about looking at our lives and saying, what are all the things that we've done? One of my friends, a good friend of mine, says he has a love me binder. Okay. I am in the process of trying to create it, but I don't have a binder. I hate binders. But he prints things out and puts them into an actual physical binder, right? Prints out whatever it is and puts it into a little plastic sleeve, for example. I would rather do it digitally. So maybe Dropbox, right? Or Google Drive. But he has a love me binder. What does this love me binder consist of? Every accomplishment, every praise, every certificate, every new thing that you tackled, right? To show you what you're capable of. So if you have a certificate of accomplishment of something, we acquire those things through life, right? I got my degree. I don't look at that anymore. That was 20 years ago, right? But that's something when I look at myself and think that I'm not capable of studying and learning and growing and accomplishing something with whatever it is that I'm studying, I want to look at that and say, yes, I am. I did it and I can do it again, right? Same thing with trying something new, skydiving, right? Was bungee jumping. Like those kind of activities are really nerve-wracking, right? There are a lot of other activities that I would like to try. Then sometimes, yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm too scared to do that. That's crazy. I'm never going to do that because I feel the fear in the moment of that moment, right? And again, my mind is not sitting there telling me, oh, you're too scared to do that again. It's just telling me you're too scared to do that. When in reality, it's again, because I was too scared last time, but I did it anyways. And I did it many times. So have a photo, right? Have a photo of you bungee jumping. Have a photo of you jumping out of a plane. Have a photo of you climbing some rocks or swimming with sharks or whatever the hell it is, right? Have your photos. Have these moments that prove to you that there was something that you were concerned, that you were scared of, that you were scared to try, and you did it anyways. And here's the bloody proof of it, right? So that when your self-limiting belief comes into the conversation, and tells you you're too scared to do it, you're like, oh yeah, here, how about this one? How about that one? How about that one? How about that one? Was I too? Yeah, I was scared then too, right? You were there, you were in that conversation too, right? And look, I did it anyways, right? So an inventory of those kind of things. If you have really good uh, testimonials or feedback or referrals from people that comes to a job or a task or something that you did where they were like, you know what, thank you so much. And it's a personalized message, not even a LinkedIn public referral, right? But a personalized message where someone said, you know what, I really appreciate what you did. Thank you so much for sharing this. I had no idea and I learned so much from this. Like take that and put that into your love me binder. Sorry, I kicked this thing. Take that and put it into your love me binder. So when you feel down, you can read that and know that you touched somebody in a positive way, right? Speaking of which, feedback form, that is one of those ways that you guys can be in my love me binder, okay, is if you complete that feedback form and share your thoughts and whatnot in there, okay? Then in terms of our inventory, we also have external inventories, which is other people, right? we talked about in the very, very beginning about self-worth, and the biggest challenge of it really comes from our comparisons with other people. But if we're comparing ourselves to other people in terms of I'm not good enough, that's not good. But if we're looking at other people as examples for what is possible and what people can be capable of, human beings in general, right? Then that's a good thing. So that's an external inventory. You know, if you're older, you look at people that are older, that have changed their trajectory, that have changed their career path, that have changed their course of study, gone back to school, or gone back to study something and choose a new profession and trained in a new profession, whatever that may be, right? Or started dance at a late age in life, right? Those are people that are your external inventory. They are proof that it can be done, you know? And again, it's not to compare yourself to them in any other way other than the fact that these are human beings that had a desire for change and they were able to accomplish it because they just went out and did it. And you have the same possibilities. The outcome could be completely different. You know, in fact, you could try and completely fail, but at least seeing that someone else has done it is something that tells you, why not? Why not me? Right? And then in terms of your inventory, there are a couple more things, which is there are things that you want to blanket and there are things that you don't want to blanket. What do I mean by blanketing? So there's compartmentalization, compartmentalizing something, and there's blanketing something. Compartmentalizing it means I'm going to keep it in this little box and I'm not going to extrapolate it to everything else in my life. Blanketing means I'm going to throw this blanket over everything. So your failures, compartmentalize them. Those are moments in your life, things that you did in that moment that caused you to not succeed at that particular task, in that particular relationship. Now, of course, if those are related to some self-limiting beliefs that you could go and reflect on, even better, right? Because then you can make sure that you're not going to repeat that failure. But in general, compartmentalize those failures. But the lessons that you learn from those experiences, those relationships, those moments, those failures are blanket lessons, right? They're not to be compartmentalized. In fact, those are the ones that you want to say, okay, in this relationship, I failed because I didn't communicate well, but I've become a better communicator. Great. I have learned how to express myself in a respectful way while still being authentic and true to what I'm feeling. Well, where else can that lesson be applied? It's not just relationships, in romantic relationships, rather. It is every relationship. It is the relationship with your best friend. It is a relationship with your acquaintance. It is a relationship with your boss, right? So those lessons, blanket. Failures, all these mistakes, these negative moments, compartmentalize. Take the lessons out of them, extrapolate those lessons, pull them and blanket them to your life and see where else you can apply them. But don't look at your entire life as a failure because of a moment that you failed. Don't look at yourself as a deeply flawed being full of mistakes because of the mistakes that you made, right? Number 3. Oh, batteries are dying. Crap. Number 3, creating a mental health practice. I am sure you've all heard about this. There's actually a little, I'm not going to be, my chair has, okay, sorry. It's a new chair, so I'm still figuring it out. Apparently the armrests pull out forward and back. Yes, my previous chair was a little shitbox. Anyways, mental health practice. So what can you do to conquer these limiting beliefs, right? One of those ways is to have a mental health practice. I personally used to look at that as kind of like, whatever, you know, who needs that stuff? Meditation is for, you know, monks, not for me. I got things to do. I got to be working on stuff. I got to be active on things, right? And the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that a healthy practice of mental health is really important for just my sanity through the day. You know, so I'm going to tell you what I do. In my calendar, my Google Calendar, I have three things that I do every day. They are small calendar items, 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes in the morning when I wake up, 15 minutes in the evening before I go to bed, and then I have another 15 minutes for journaling, right? So journaling, I don't journal with a crazy intention for the journaling necessarily. I free write, right? I am just working on my typing skills and getting the speed at which I can process my thoughts into my keyboard faster and faster so that I can finally get my book done, which is what I'm going to be working on this year. But I want to get into that habit of like thinking and immediately getting that onto my screen. My morning gratitude 15-minute block and my evening gratitude and recap, those are a little bit different though. So my morning takes less than 5 minutes. It's 15 minutes because 5 minutes would not even like show up on the calendar properly. But 15-minute block is what I've assigned for it. But all it has is 3 things I'm grateful for. I make sure I write 3 every single morning. 1 affirmation statement. I am ... And then underneath that are top 3 things I want to do. Now, those top 3 things that I want to get done that day come from the nights before. So the night recap that I have, the previous night, I'll tell you exactly what I have. I have gratitude, just 1 item of gratitude, unless more comes to my mind. What was a highlight of the day? What could I have done better? What are good habits to continue? And what are bad habits to break? And then I have a little note that says top 3 to 5 things add to tomorrow morning's gratitude. So what does that allow me to do? 1, it allows me to start and finish my day with gratitude. Much of our feelings of self-worth and lack is because we have this mentality of scarcity, right? I'm lacking, I don't have, I need, I only, if only, and when I get these things, right? Gratitude allows you to focus on what you have and allows you to practice gratitude for those. What is going on outside? Practice gratitude for those things in your life, right? Now, my gratitude list could be super dumb sometimes, right? Like sometimes it's people, sometimes they're really epic moments, right? That I'm grateful for. But sometimes I'm like, I'm so glad for my bed. I had such a comfortable sleep in my bed, or I am grateful for the sound of the cars outside because I know that the world is alive and moving. Oh, whatever it is, right? Point is, I take the time to find 3 things that I'm grateful for in the morning and at least one at night. The highlight of the day allows me to look at my day, even if I did not get everything done, to be able to look at my day and say, there's got to be something good today. There's got to be one thing that was good, worthwhile, worth mentioning. And I'm going to find it and I'm going to add that, right? Then what could I have done better? There's always room for improvement. And I like to look at that and say, okay, what could I have done better today? Well, I did kind of spend too much time on lunch, and then I got on that call and, I lost my focus. Could have stayed more focused. And then my good habits to continue and bad habits to break. My good habits to continue, for example, waking up early, getting my journaling done. These are things that I've recently introduced. I have been doing it, but I wasn't really consistent with it. So I want to do it every single day. So that's a good habit. And I check it off every single time. I write the same bloody thing every single day because it's a habit I'm trying to create. So why not pat myself on the back for getting that done that day, right? And then bad habits could be, I had a lot of desserts in the house, so I was eating a lot of sugary things. By writing them down, it's not to say that you're, again, flawed. You're not permanently in this state of being. But by writing them down, I remember that I wrote it down. That sits in my head when I go to sleep. When I wake up the next day, I'm not so keen to do it again. It's very different from binging a cake and then binge eating a cake and then saying, oh man, I feel sick. I shouldn't have done that. Done. Go on with your day. And then tomorrow there's another cake and you're like, ooh, cake, right? That's me. Okay. Really short-term memory when it comes to that kind of stuff, sugary foods. But when I write it down, I'm like, oh, I really wished I didn't eat all of that. The next morning when I wake up and I see that cake, I'm thinking to myself, I wrote this down. I wrote this thought that I did not feel good about it and I shouldn't have done it. And it just lingers long enough for me to make slightly different choice. Maybe postpone eating it, right? Or eat a little bit less of it. Whatever it is, by writing that down, it impacts my decision. Okay. And it allows me to not look at myself as a mistake, but that I've made certain things that I could improve upon. Okay. So that's my personal practice, is gratitude and affirmation and journaling. Okay. The affirmation statement for the morning I mentioned in the night, those 3 things that I write for the next day, like 3 things that I want to get done, just 3. I don't complicate that list. It usually gets complicated on its own through the day. But when I used to put it into the nighttime journaling. And then I realized that when I would do the morning journal, and by the way, I don't write this into another document. I'm just in my Google Calendar. I just edit the item in the description. I write whatever. It takes 5 to 10 minutes max, right? Sometimes not even. But I used to put those 3 to 5 things that I wanted to do in the nighttime journaling. Now, the problem was in the morning, I wouldn't go back and necessarily look at it. So instead, what I did is I put them into my morning journal. So now when I wake up and I'm about to enter my 3 things that I'm grateful for, plus my affirmation, I can look at those 3 things that I plan to do. And I say, my affirmation is now connected to those. So for example, I had the public speaking competition. That was one of the things that I had to do last weekend. My affirmation was, I am an objective, kind, and respectful judge, a speaker and a judge. So that I know when I go into that I'm coming at it with a positive, objective mentality, right? So that affirmation, connecting it to the things that you want to get done that day based on what you plan to do the previous day. So you're not like scrambling in the morning, like, oh my God, what do I need to do? What am I going to do today? You planned that the night before, but the affirmation relates to it and allows you to feel a little bit more confident and secure about going about it. Then, let's see. So there's this one handout, which again, I'm going to share this really quickly on my screen. I'm sorry, you guys will not be able to see it, but let me share this really quickly over here. How do I do this? Present. But if you complete the feedback form, magnagopal.com/feedback, I will send you the list of all of those self-limiting beliefs that other people had sent to me, as well as this handout that I'm about to screen share on Facebook and on YouTube. Complete the feedback form. That is your incentive. I should not have to incentivize you to send that. I think you guys should just do that of your own free will because you want to show your appreciation and gratitude. But I am going to incentivize it and I will give you something for it. So let me just share this really quickly on here. Window, boom. Okay. So this is something that was shared with me from an Oakwood training handout that they had posted on LinkedIn. It's called How to Keep Stress in Check. And the elements that they went through, I'm not going to go through all of them in detail, but being kind to yourself, reaching out for help. Heads up is talking about being on your phone, which social media, right? Take a breather, laugh. Laughter is great. We don't laugh as much as we used to as kids. Apparently kids laugh like 30 or 300 times a day. And adults are about 4 times a day, which is unfortunate. Express yourself. So suppressing your feelings is not good. Move, be active, physically active, problem solve. So that could be the things that you wanted to get done, taking notice and understanding what you're actually doing. So developing your awareness and then validating yourself and affirmations. So this, I will send this guy to, where is my StreamYard? I will send that to all of you. Did that show up on the screen? I don't even know if it did. I hope so. Anyways, I will send that to all of you. Whoever completes the feedback form, it's not difficult to do. You will get that. magnagopal.com. If you don't remember /feedback, just go to magnagopal.com, go to the contact section. There's a feedback form for the live chat, and I shall send it over there. Then there are 3 more things, and then we're going to wrap up. So creating a mental health practice. 4 is setting boundaries, right? There are most of the challenges that we face that we have a difficult time overcoming is because of a lack of boundaries. I did an entire live chat on this, on setting boundaries, live chat number 4. I will put the link to that into the YouTube channel replay of this live chat once we're all done. I also put pushing through pushback, which was like judgment and the people that you're spending time with and the things that you are saying yes to. Okay. Those are other live chats that we went into deeper dives on those topics. But setting boundaries is really important because when it comes to your self-limiting beliefs, if you feel like you can't do something and you also can't say no to everyone that asks you to do something, well, guess what? You're not going to get things done. And it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point, right? Because you feel like you don't have enough time, you keep saying yes to people, and you don't have enough time. That is what it is, right? So being able to set boundaries allows you to actually get more things done. As it comes to relationships, being able to set your boundaries with people in terms of what you demand, in terms of respect, in terms of styles of communication, in terms of openness and honesty and trust, and all of those things will also impact that limiting belief of self-worth. The more garbage you allow into your life, the more you're going to feel like that's all you're good. That is all that you're worth, is the garbage that's surrounding you. So you need to take some steps in creating a boundary around you. Again, not everyone who is bad for you in that moment is a bad person, but you need to be able to filter what's the right thing for you. Number 5 is finding support and finding your tribe, right? Live chat number 21 and live chat number 17. 17 was asking for too much or the wrong person. 21 was asking for help and helping others, the struggles of that. Not everyone is a good source of support. And I'm actually going to show you a couple of examples of people's comments in Facebook that is not really useful. But you need to be able to find people that will affirm you, that are people that when you go up to them and say, you know what, I feel stuck, they're not like, well, sucks to be you, right? Or they're like, well, just get over it. Like I've heard that too. It's like someone who's crying and you're like, oh, suck up your tears and get over it. You're like, well, that's not really what I need, is it? So you need to find people who are compassionate, who are accepting of the fact that you are being vulnerable in that moment, that you are struggling with something in that moment, and they can show up in a way that actually supports you so that you can get through that and conquer that limiting belief, at least for that moment. And then finally, taking action, okay? Action creates clarity. All of your self-limiting beliefs, even though you're maybe conquering them and saying that's not true and this is not true, they limit you in terms of what you are going to do, of what you will actually take a step towards. So if you don't take that step, even if you sit there in your head and say, I know I'm not all of these things, well, where's your proof? That is in your action. So whatever you do, once you have acknowledged, labeled, identified these things, once you've developed that inventory that you can fall back on and say, well, you know what, this isn't true because here's this list of a proof that I can do these things, that I have other skills that are transferable. Once you have your mental health practice, so you can find gratitude and affirmations for every single day that help lift you up, and setting boundaries where you have your community, you must take action. That thing that you fear, you have got to go out there and just do it. Who cares if you fail? Believe me, we fail way more times than we like to acknowledge before we succeed, But if you don't try, there is no possibility for any type of positive or negative outcome, right? And I'd like to add that all of your weak moments, all of your failures, everything that you struggle through is proof of your strength, because almost all of us get through it at some point. So what does that mean? Means that I was capable. But how will I know what I'm capable of doing if I don't attempt it, right? How do I know how much I can lift if I never even pick up 5 pounds, right? If 5 pounds is heavy, then, well, okay, I got to train. But now I know I can lift 10 pounds. And back in the days, I couldn't even lift 5 pounds. So I can see my growth. Again, that contributes to my inventory, right? Every time that you step out into battle and you actually fight that battle and you take those steps and you take action, you are building your inventory for yourself to say that I did it again. Okay. And finally, a couple of things that are counterproductive. Okay, this is something to keep an eye out for. Not every friend can be a good friend in these moments, as I mentioned. So these are moments that we are being vulnerable. These are moments that we are sharing with somebody else that, listen, I don't really have it all right now. I'm not entirely sure what to do. I feel confused. I feel insecure. I feel vulnerable, right? Not everyone you speak to is going to be able to handle that. Again, the last live chat about asking for help, the struggles of asking for help, is that not everyone is capable of being that person for you in that moment. Maybe in a future date, maybe they have been in the past, but in that moment, maybe they're not. And you have to accept that without any judgment or resentment, first of all. So one person said, one person had comment, again, my question in the Facebook post was, what is one of your self-limiting beliefs? Okay, that was the question. And I gave an example of mine. One of the comments I got was, I think most people's is, I'm not worthy. Guess what? You are. Now believe it. Doesn't help. Okay. That kind of comment, that kind of response lacks compassion and lacks sensitivity. Telling someone to believe something when they're clearly not believing it, that's why they're talking about it, right, is not actually helping the situation. Just because you have conquered it does not mean it's going to be that easy for someone else to conquer it. So telling someone, it's the same thing as like when someone's crying, oh, get over it, it's nothing. Good, I'm glad you see it that way, but it is something to me. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I'm about to lose battery here. And then we really are going to wrap up. I promise. Okay. So, right. Stop crying. Believe it. Those are not really useful. So if you have someone who's talking to you like that when you're opening up about something that's personal, that's not going to be super helpful. Okay. The next thing is someone who said, well, why would you ask about self-limiting beliefs instead of asking about where you get the inspiration to accomplish difficult tasks? Granted, again, awareness is key. So if you cannot even sit there and acknowledge that you have limiting beliefs, then what the hell are you fighting, right? What are you battling? What are you accomplishing? What are you overcoming? If you cannot identify the things that are possibly going to trip you up in life, then you are going to constantly be tripping. It's not to say that you're not going to move forward. It's not to say you're not going to make progress, but you're going to be constantly tripping. Like I'll give you the example of having a home, for example, right? And you have, someone says, oh, is your house done? You're like, yeah, my house is done. Cool. And you walk into their house and they've got these planks of wood on the floor with spaces in between them. And I'm like, but you got holes in there. And the person's like, yeah, but no problem. I hop over them. So those holes are those self-limiting beliefs. Those are the things, are insecurities that you don't want to tackle, that you don't want to look at for whatever reason. And I'm glad that you are capable of jumping, but don't call your home a complete home without acknowledging that you haven't even taken the time to repair those holes, right? Again, not to say that your repair is not going to crack over time, but you are literally avoiding them, right? And then finally, one of the other comment was, in response to I'm not good enough, you're probably not. Most of us need to work at becoming good at anything. Like, man, I know that. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm saying that, right? I know that we can improve, but the moment that I'm feeling is a moment of vulnerability and insecurity. So just telling me, well, yeah, I guess you're not, doesn't help. So I'm not going to continue too much further with this today. I will gladly approach it again in the future. And again, if you have any comments that you want to share in the feedback, I can adjust them there too. But be mindful of like who you are communicating with, right? Because when we show up in ways that are vulnerable, where we are expressing things about us that we're not proud of, or that we're ashamed of, or that we're scared of, right? We don't need people to berate us. We don't need people to diminish what we're feeling. We don't need people to tell us and confirm that, yeah, well, you're not good enough, right? We need people to affirm us. We need people who will lift us up and who will be there as a support structure while we grow and become our best selves. So self-limiting beliefs are not impossible they're not impossible to confront and tackle. I do feel that they are always going to be present. They'll always find a way to show up in the moments that you least expect them to and that you least want them to. But you do have that capacity to confront them if you've got a good set of tactics and strategies, which we talked about, and if you can identify what it is that you're struggling with in the first place. So again, I would like to say thank you for being here with me today. as always, I have like very small notes, and I think that I'll go through them really quickly, but I guess it takes a lot longer to go through some of these topics because they are deep, and they are personal, and they're painful to visit and to talk about. So I appreciate all of you sticking around, and all of your comments as well. I appreciate that. If you are interested in coaching, you can always reach out to me from my website, magnagopal.com. And if you have been here through at least if you watch the whole replay, if you're watching this as a replay, or if you've been here through the live, please take a minute to complete the feedback form. I will send you that list as well as that handout that I showed, magnagopal.com/feedback. Okay, it's on my contact section on my website. And lastly, what else is there that I don't want to keep you guys any longer? So I'm just going to call it at that. And thank you for sharing. As always, these live chats mean a lot more when you contribute with your answers and your comments. So anytime I pose a question on Facebook or on Instagram or on YouTube, I appreciate you taking the time to write your experiences out there. I know it means a lot for you to share moments of vulnerability with me and with just a random public around the world. So I applaud you, I honor you, and I feel very privileged to have a moment to be there for you to hear that. And I hope that I am doing it justice when I'm sharing your thoughts and your experiences and discussing them in these live chats as well. So if I'm not, by all means, let me know. I will do better. But if I am, let me know too, so I know that I'm doing something right. Okay. Thank you everybody for being here. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. Happy hump day, and enjoy the rest of your week. I'm not sure that I will be going live on my birthday again like I did last year. Like I said, I fell off that chair. So yeah, maybe not. But I might have some other surprises for my birthday. So we'll see what pops up. Other than that, I will see you next month, next live chat. And I look forward to interacting with all of you on social media. In our social media, right? Which is vulnerability and the highs and the lows. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a lovely day. And again, if you want to show support, very easy. You can hop on whatever platform you're on, hit like, hit subscribe, share it with a friend. If you are Debs, if you're sharing this on Facebook, it will be gone. So I would recommend sharing the YouTube replay that stays online eternally, basically. So you can share it from there. All right, folks. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Have a good day. Ezra, you can find it on YouTube. The replay will be there once it's processed. And I'm going to add the links to all of the other live chats that I mentioned into the YouTube replay. And then the feedback form is magnagopal.com/feedback. Or you can just go to my website, go to the contact section, and you can find it in one of the forms there. Okay? All right, guys. Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you again. As always, the exit is awkward because we just sit here and look around and move the mouse around and then finally move my face.